Zarkana's debut fast approaching, the show is far from ready for its first curtain call. Up to this point, Cirque has not been able to rehearse the full show on one stage because of the immense size of the set and the limited space at its Montreal headquarters. With the clock ticking to Zarkana's debut and to get everyone rehearsing on the same stage before setting up in Radio City, Cirque takes the entire operation from Montreal to the Amway Arena in Orlando, Florida.
This arena actually became a silver bullet for us because we were able to integrate all of our needs so we can check all of our systems in the true dimension. On top of that, allowing us training space, so costume shops, rehearsal studios, all of it was there.
The former home of the NBA's Orlando Magic, the old Amway Arena has been empty, waiting for demolition, but not before Zarkana takes over every inch of the 367,000 square feet that once saw as many as 17,000 fans a night through its doors. It is one of the only spaces big enough and available to set up the whole stage and to finally practice the entire show under one roof before Zarkana's debut. Tensions remain high as time is extremely tight.
At times we feel a little bit that we're on uncharted territories.
Zarkana is one of the company's most elaborate shows to date, and perhaps the most ambitious part of the creative process for Zarkana is the set design.
The shape of Radio City, the Art Deco arch is so important that you have to fit in.
Radio City's famed proscenium arches feature heavily in set designer Stéphane Roy's vision.
The main elements of the stage are three arches. The three arches represent like three steps in an Odyssey. It's like Alice in Wonderland, so you have to go through the steps of that world to understand, to have the keys. So the set is all in keys.
The stage that Cirque sets up in the Amway Arena looks exactly as if it's Radio City itself. The set is designed to fit right on top of the existing theater stage in New York, and it takes up every inch of space to accommodate the huge acrobatic acts that are signature Cirque.
So the life of acrobats depends on the quality of what we do. So it's complex. We have a huge number, amazing acrobatic, and that takes a lot of room. And we still need some room. Even if it's a big theater, we're missing space, imagine. So it's filled, every inch is filled with set, acrobatic, everything.
Typically, when Cirque moves into a venue, it makes structural changes necessary to fit its massive acrobatic equipment. But because Radio City is an historic landmark, the Cirque team cannot make a single alteration to the building or stage, making the design process more complicated than usual.
We can't touch the historic venue.
It makes for a complex set that Roy's team meticulously designs and builds piece by piece, day by day, for more than a year.
This floor, we took a few months to paint it, hand painted in Montreal in the shop, and craft and paint. And when you look at it, it looks like a castle floor. If you look at all those arches, they're all in pieces. There will be 1,000 pieces if you put everything all together.
Amid the old-fashioned craftsmanship is a world of high-tech to create the explosive multimedia layers of Zarkana. LED screens with more than 3 million pixels are built right into the Zarkana arches.
This is all sculpted by hand. And if you come on the side, you will see that behind it, it includes LED walls. So it looks like they're plaster, but in the back it's high-tech everywhere.
To assemble the stage with the high-tech wizardry and acrobatic equipment to create Zarkana's multi-layered performances, and on top of that, make sure everything works flawlessly each and every time is nothing short of an engineering feat.
We work with all of our different designers.
Technical director Dave Churchill is a Cirque veteran, and even for his seasoned team, the scope of Zarkana is a challenge.
To go from concept of, hey, it would be cool to do a triple wide trapeze act, to turn it into what is actually a design masterpiece. It all plays in together because even an artist in a costume needs a harness to get attached to a cable that goes to a winch that's controlled by automation.
With the stage now fully operational for the first time, Zarkana gets to work on the show as a whole. And as the clock ticks down to the opening, the arena is buzzing with activity morning, noon, and night.
I feel your energy steady as the rain.
Costumes need to be finished, props built, rigging worked out, And of course, the circus performers still need to put the finishing touches on their routines.
Good morning, Vika.
Anne-Marie Corbet is Zarkana's artistic director.
Right now we live in an arena. We're in Florida, but we live in an arena. That's where we spend 12, 14 hours a day.
And when you walk through the Amway Arena, you enter a world of creative genius amidst controlled chaos.
So we're going up on the concourse.
In the circular concourse next to the abandoned concession stands, performers can practice their one-of-a-kind acts at their own pace in the early part of the day.
A big part of my job is taking care of the artists, and we're in creation, so it's very hard. We're very demanding. We're pushing the hours, so someone has to pass them back and give the pat on the back, and sometimes I give them chocolate, cookies, and crackers, and it's just to lift the spirit and the mood to make sure we make it to premiere.
To be at the top of their game, the acrobats practice and rehearse up to 12 hours each day. Konstantin Beschetny is the head acrobatic coach and a performer, along with his 21-year-old daughter, Christina, who grew up in Cirque and is following in the family footsteps.
Get here at 10, train until 12, and from 1 till 6 staging, have dinner, and then 6 till 10 staging again. And between that, if we can fit costume fittings, makeup.
It's all about training, it's all about technique, it's doing a lot of repetition, you know, and we repeat.
We have to feel sure that we know what we're doing before we do it.
With Cirque hoping to push the envelope with Zarkana's acrobatics, the artists feel the pressure. The High Wire Act is another family affair, performed by a father and 3 sons from Ecuador who are struggling to get their act down and hope they can pull it off at the full dress rehearsal later in the week.
He can jump higher, so he cannot do these mistakes. But come on, the last week was him and 2 weeks ago was him.
Just off the concourse, where the full stage is now set up on the arena floor, every afternoon, into the wee hours of the night, the cast rehearses each detail of Zarkana over and over and over. Painstaking work, and with so many artists coming from different parts of the world, the language barriers continue to slow the process, with translators often needed to communicate the creative vision. Every aspect of the show is dissected.
So let's fix as much as we can to a point where we can keep a transition run.
As the director challenges the performers to pinpoint every movement, every musical note, every scene, patience wears thin. For the show's main character, played by Garou, the repetition is particularly frustrating. He isn't used to getting so much direction. Before Zarkana, Garou typically called the shots during his live solo concerts.
The most challenging thing is patience here. That's very tough. It's changing all the time. So what I'm going to sing today may change. Lyrics may change. The melody may change. So every day we have to update and learn new stuff. It's definitely an evolution for me.
Maybe it's an off way.
And it continues to be an evolution for composer Nick Littlemore, as day by day he works to complete Zarkana's score with just weeks to go.
See how by there? So tune that one just a little bit above that.
With Zarkana playing Radio City, Cirque hand-picks 7 musicians from the rich New York music scene who will bring Littlemore's music to life. Peter Fand is a multi-instrumentalist who hails from Brooklyn, where he worked as a musician and educator before joining Zarkana 3 months earlier.
Some of the music we didn't hear until we arrived here in Orlando. Most of it we had been working on, but there's still new pieces being developed and changes happening in the music all the time, every day. I don't think that the music on this show is like any other Cirque show or any other show that I know of, in fact.
And in keeping with Cirque's international nature, many of the instruments Fand plays in Zarkana are from Africa with a unique earthy sound.
This is the kora. The kora is a 21-string West African harp. It comes from the countries of Guinea and Mali and Gambia in West Africa. And it's a very organic instrument, organic sounding. which is a little bit unique for this show, which is has a lot of electronic sounds. So what I bring to this show with the kora is a grounded, organic, earthy kind of element to this world of sonic intrigue, the kora.
Fand and the other musicians are in plain sight in Zarkana, right on stage, perched in what is called the Eagles, 2 bandstands on either side of the stage, which pose challenges musicians rarely deal with.
So from here, we have literally a bird's eye view from the eagle. We are often watching the acrobats. Yesterday they were testing to see how close they would come to us if accidentally they fell. And there's a net that separates us from the acrobats. And when they leapt into the net, they were maybe a foot away from us. So flying trapeze, flying into the eagles, but not quite.
The entire show is slowly coming together, and yet there is a frenzied energy as the days tick by. Now, with only a week to go before leaving Florida for New York, most of Zarkana's costume department is in an arena hallway, still finishing the painstaking work that began nearly 2 years earlier at Cirque's headquarters in Montreal.
Yeah, see, it can't be like this tight, because when I do that...
It's too tight?
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's good like that.
Okay.
Pattern cutters, seamstresses, and fabric painters working from early morning into the night. Even the wigs are still being made.
For this specific show, I would say that in all we might have made close to 30 or 40.
Richard Hansen is the resident wig master who methodically threads each of his creations strand of hair by strand of hair, weaving in different colors and materials to capture just the right look.
This is Zark, actually. And the lace is very, very fine. So this is how we make the base. And it's all made to measure, so it fits him to a T, like a glove. And then with this little hook, I just hook into the fabric and make knots, sort of like making a carpet, but a small one. This one took about 75 hours with the construction of the base and then laying in the hair, and then styling it and cutting it, making it look the way it does. And as you can see, there's green and purple and blue in it, but when he's on stage, it actually looks like a normal dark color.
In the basement of the arena, the makeup teaching sessions continue. One by one, the artists learning the difficult task of applying their stage makeup.
Das ist super gut.
And after a short month of intense work in every department and rehearsing the individual parts of the show, on the very last day in their makeshift home at the Amway Arena, Zarkana stages a full run-through of the show for the very first time, start to finish.
Today it's a special day for us because it's the first time that we present the show to the public.
It's an all-day dress rehearsal called the Lion's Den, a reference to the ritual battles in ancient Rome's Colosseum. Here at the old Amway Arena in Orlando, the audience is packed with family, friends, and staff, and most importantly, one of the original members of Cirque, founder Guy La Liberté, who is seeing the full production for the first time. The dress rehearsal is not without its problems. The transitions between the scenes still need to be worked out, and the rehearsal must stop and restart repeatedly.
Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. We've got one more little thing we need to do.
At least one of the acrobatic acts, the one-of-a-kind ladder act, cannot be fully rehearsed because the father has suffered an injury. While the trapeze artists and the high wire family are still perfecting their acts. And those pesky eagles are a little too close for comfort to the action during one scene, causing a show delay while a technical glitch gets untangled.
Catastrophe averted.
The dress rehearsal finally is over, and what will open as a 2-hour show has taken a very long 6 hours to perform. There are still a lot of wrinkles to iron out before opening night, just a few weeks away.
It's been an amazing 4 weeks. It's been a battle to get there, and it's still a battle, of course.
Despite the obvious problems, Cirque founder Guy La Liberté has some encouraging words for the Zarkana troupe before it heads off to its New York debut.
I've been hearing from all the team here that you guys have been fantastic.
contributing and collaborating to this process. So I want to say thank you. Enjoy your couple of weeks of break. Take care, and we'll see you in New York. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Within minutes of the Lion's Den completion, the show directors head off to evaluate the rehearsal and pull out their finishing touches for Radio City. While legions of hard hat workers swarm the arena to immediately start tearing down the set and packing up the hundreds of road cases for the trip to New York. 1 week later, the irreplaceable cargo arrives at Radio City Music Hall, where everything is now unloaded, box by box. And for some of the huge acrobatic equipment, the busy street around Radio City is actually closed for the night as big cranes carefully maneuver each piece through a single loading dock door.
So it's like an Apollo 13. Houston, we have a problem. Can you fit this and this? So it's a 12 feet by 12 feet loading dock going on a ramp down 12 feet down the street level. And we have 40 trucks full of equipment and pieces that weigh like 2 tons, 3 tons. And it has to fit through a little door. It has to go in a truck. So if it goes in a truck, it goes through a door.
It takes a full week to load everything in, piece by piece.
Load-in went okay. It was a long, arduous affair. The biggest challenge that we had, which is not the biggest challenge we expected, is just having enough space on stage to work. Because of the size of our equipment once it got in the door, and we very quickly ran out of space on stage, which is ironic when the stage is Radio City Music Hall and it's one of the biggest stages in the world. We filled it like that every day.
And once everything is inside and unpacked, the set, arches, curtains, floor, technical grid, and acrobatic equipment all are put into final position at breakneck speed.
We're going to have a very tight 3 weeks to conclude all of the staging and then start the previews.
The challenge now is to be ready on time.
The entire Zarkana team is inching closer to its ultimate goal, showtime. As the director smooths out the transitions, composer Nick Littlemore writes Zarkana's final notes, and the acrobats continue their workouts, including the one-of-a-kind family ladder act that has had to work especially hard to make up practice time before the big debut.
It's a long process. I think now the artists, they need to perform, and I think it's going to be unbelievable to have a crowd, finally.
Finally, Zarkana, created by the celebrated Cirque du Soleil, poised for one of the greatest stages in the world, New York's Radio City Music Hall.
The message of Zarkana is imagination is beautiful, starting with the viewer's imagination. That's where everything happens. At the heart of all this, there's the dream of an audience being available for an adventure.
And as the curtain rises, Cirque du Soleil's surreal world of Zarkana is ready to take the audience on a memorable adventure as it casts its spell across the Radio City stage and beyond.